they say some vague stuff in a sort of hypey way, but well, they didn't want me to publish the scenario, for example, laying out like, here's how things might actually look.
I'm super curious as to what it's like being in a company like that when ChatGPT 3 is released. You were there at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was a moment where I think the whole world stood up and realized that this technology was powerful.
Yeah.
And the conversation really began from a society level. The company starts growing super quickly.
Yeah.
Quicker than I think anybody could ever have imagined. And what was it like inside there? What did you see change over that period of time?
I remember one all-hands meeting where Ilya said something like...
Ilya being?
Ilya Sutskever, who was head of research at that time. He said something like, okay, now the world is starting to pay attention. Each of you is going to be the most popular person at every party for the next year. Don't let it get to your head. Focus on the mission. Got to build AGI. The company grew a lot. It already wasn't really feeling like a nonprofit when I joined, but it definitely didn't feel like a nonprofit by the time I left. Lots of new people came in. Ironically, the amount of conversation about superintelligence and the implications of superintelligence arguably sort of went down over time due to this growth, right? So because the company would double and then double again and then double again, all these new people were coming in from other parts of the tech industry who hadn't really been thinking about these things and were attracted by the high salaries.
You lost $2 million for not signing an anti-disparagement clause, which would mean you couldn't criticize the company.
Yes. Well, so I got to keep the money.
Oh, you got to keep the money.
So what happened was, after I had left, said my goodbyes, etc., I got the exit paperwork, and it included this clause that said you basically have to agree not to criticize the company again, and also a clause saying you can't tell anyone about this. And so I thought that was kind of rich coming from a nonprofit that's supposed to be, for the benefit of all humanity. So I didn't sign it. And if you don't sign, you don't get to keep your equity. So your compensation, what they pay you is a bunch of money and then also a bunch of stock, basically. But then they had this stuff in the contract that they get to yank back your stock if you don't sign this thing. And my wife and I, were upset about this. We talked about it for like a month or two, consulted some lawyers, and then ultimately decided to just refuse to sign.
Which would mean you would have lost $2 million.
That's right. Which was like 80% of our net worth at the time. Fortunately, it didn't go the way we expected. It blew up basically on the internet. Like when people heard that we had done this and that we had said no, it became like this huge scandal. Employees at the company started asking questions in Slack and asking leadership, wait, what? Why are you going to take away our equity? What is this? Because a lot of people hadn't really noticed this before. It had been whispered about, but it hadn't been sort of like a thing that most employees knew about. And so they backtracked and they said, never mind. We'll change the paperwork. You can keep the equity. It's fine.
And Sam Altman came out and said he was embarrassed that he didn't realize this was
Yeah, he had no idea, apparently.
You don't believe him?
No, I think he probably knew. And if he didn't know, then people close to him probably did, such as his head lawyer.
Why did you decide not to take the $2 million?
I mean,
most people would have, I think.
It's true. Most people would have, and most people did. And, money is nice, but it's not the only thing, Sometimes it's good to take a stand on principle. I keep mentioning superintelligence. Perhaps I should say more about the sequence of events that the companies are planning to do. So right now, they're focusing on automating coding. They're taking their AIs, they're making them bigger, they're training them for longer, and they're especially focusing the training on getting them to be good at autonomously writing and editing code, because that will help the companies go faster, right? If they can automate the code, then they can do their own work better and faster and accelerate progress. The next step, which they've already begun, is to look at the rest of the research process as well, coming up with ideas, analyzing experiments, communicating those results. All the other parts of the research process, they're trying to figure out how to train AIs to be good at those as well, so that they can have AIs do the entire thing autonomously.
When you say do the entire thing, what do you mean do the entire thing? What do you mean do the entire thing? So
Anthropic and OpenAI in particular are trying to automate themselves. They're trying to make it the case that they don't really need human employees anymore. They just have a giant army of AIs that's churning away, doing all this autonomous research to make better AIs, to train the new AIs, put them in charge so they can make even better AIs and so forth. And of course, not all just happening internally, but also like interfacing with the world, right? Like going out and talking to people, collecting the data, setting up the training environments, doing the business deals and so forth. Like they're trying to automate all of that. The reason why they're doing this is because they're trying to get to a position where they have AIs that are superhuman at everything, superintelligence, and they're trying to get there before their competitors do. Needless to say, this is incredibly dangerous, I would say, And in addition to being dangerous, it's a power grab, right? Like if they actually succeed at this, then they'll be sitting on top of this army of superhuman AIs that will give them immense leverage over all sorts of other actors in the economy, insofar as they can work out something with the presidents and integrate it into the military or whatever. Then that would give the US immense hard power over all other countries, right? Obviously, nobody knows exactly when this is happening, but a very disquieting thing has happened over the last year to me, which is that when we published AI 2027, people were generally of the opinion that my timelines were too short and that like probably it would take more than 2027 until we got to this sort of events that I was just mentioning, recursive self-improvement, AIs automating the whole research process, superintelligence, these types of milestones, they happen in 2027 in AI 2027.
Which is this research paper you published.
That's right. It's a scenario forecast that sort of lays out like month by month a possible future trajectory. There was sort of like, at the time that we started writing, it was my best guess as to what would actually happen. Obviously, there's lots of uncertainty, but I thought it's valuable to make a concrete guess just to sort of see what it might look like. And at the time we were writing this, a lot of my friends in the AI industry and in nonprofits and so forth that work on AI, a lot of people were saying like, yeah, that stuff's going to happen, but like it'll probably take a couple years longer than you think. And now it's more 50-50. Especially when I go talk to people at Anthropic and OpenAI. They're often like, yeah, no, 2027, that's basically what's going to happen. Just like you wrote. Why did you update your timelines? Oh yeah, context for this is after writing AI 2027, I shifted my timelines to be a little bit more conservative. So at the time that we published, my 50% mark was in 2028, not in 2027. And then after we published, progress just seemed like it was going a bit slower. And so I updated to 2030, which is, still could happen sooner, could happen later, 2030. But now when I talk to people in the companies, they're like, it's not going to take that long. They're like, oh, you need to shorten them again. Like get them back to 2027 or 2028, So that's a bit disquieting. Again, don't know how long it's going to take, but this is the stated plans of the AI companies is to do this incredibly dangerous thing. And they think that they're just a few years away.
So you wrote this report here, What 2026 Looks Like. And you wrote this in 2021, and it was remarkably accurate, helped make a name for yourself amongst everybody in AI. And which one was it that JD Vance, the vice president, read? I think it was this one, wasn't it? Yeah, this one.
Yeah.